So today we are talking about promises and API calls within our RESTful web service. So I'm going to show an example of that using Express with the request-promise dependency. So first thing that we need to do is to create a new project. I'm going to clear this. And I move that to the trash. So I'll create a new directory. When I step into it, we're going to create a new project. Quest example sounds good. App.js. So we now have our project created. So now we need to install our dependencies. So first we're going to install Express. And now we're going to install request-promise. So we have request promise installed now. And if we attempt to use it, it's going to give us an error saying that it requires request to be saved as well. So we're also going to install request. So now we should be ready to open up our project. So I am going to show you the API that we're going to be working with here. And it's called SWAPI.co, the Star Wars API. So this is a very, very simple API that seems to always be up, and it gives good documentation. So here is the simplest version of this. So it's swapi.co/API/people, and then you simply give it an ID. So /29. So now we have Arvel Crinid, whoever that is. Or let's try 35. Had me on Madala. So there's an option or an example of that, or there's planets. And we got Malastair. And then they have some documentation if you want to check it out. So in our example, we're going to be using this today. So let's create some new files, or a file. Today I'm just going to work out of app.js. And let's require Express. And we're going to go ahead and instantiate that on the fly. And then const port equals process.env.port or 5000. Then we're going to say app.listen. Welcome to my Star Wars API on port. So on the board we talked about a get characters. So let's make that. We're going to have ID as a parameter. And then we're going to make a our logic function, which would go in controller. We're going to call that getCharacter. So now we need to pull in request promise here. And we're going to declare our options like we talked about on the board. So we have our URI, and that's going to be https://swapi.co/API/people plus ID. And then, that's not a semicolon, that's a comma. And then we're going to say, do we want the response to be of a JSON type? And sure we do. And now we are going to return the promise. So RP with options. Now we're going to go back into our get. We're going to grab our ID. Since it's a URL parameter. And then we're going to say getCharacter with the ID. And then then we're going to say this is called character rest.json character .catch, and we have an error. And let's say rest.error, and by that I mean rest.status 400, and then rest.json error.
Just ER.
Thank you.
And also there is semicolon down in the wrong place in your app.listen.
App.listen. And now Prettier formatted it so that we know that my syntax is somewhat correct. Did you say something, Connor? Thank you. Students using my own role against me. Okay, so let's try executing this. So welcome to the Star Wars API on port 5000. So we got characters /ID. So someone give me an ID.
42.
42. See what happens. Anyone see a problem here? Isn't my button to the right over here?
So,
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close Postman and reopen it. There we go. And it making our API call. And we got Captain Panaka from episode 1, I believe. And the API gives various information about him. And then it gives us other APIs that we could call. And he is from Naboo. This API could use some work, like instead of requiring IDs to be passed in, have more descriptive terms. But that's what they gave us, and it's easy to use. So are there any questions on this? All right, that concludes this.